Hello, this is Sara with Posh Pooch Designs, and this is our 5th live video chat. And today's topic that we're going to be talking about is gauge, and if gauge is important, which it is. Have you got your coffee all brewed and ready to drink? Today I went for the big cup. Isn't this the funnest cup you've ever seen? We had a little fun making these. They say coffee and crochet, have little tiny polka dots and a big yarn ball. I made this one in purple. Alrighty. Now if you're out there, today's question for our giveaway, and our giveaway designer is Marley Bird from Marley Bird Designs, and she has offered to give away to one person 2 of her patterns from her Ravelry shop. All you have to do is comment, and then remember, Thursday morning, 9:30, I'll post who that winner is. All right, let's go ahead and get started with our conversation. And by the way, I know behind me looks a little sparse. I'm in the process of redesigning my yarn studio, and I was able to acquire these new shelving units, and I painted them yesterday. And the theme kind of colors I'm going with are teals and blues and browns and beiges. And I think it's just a really nice, warm, comfortable feeling. But those will be full of yarn eventually. Right now they're full of just things so that they're not empty. I sort of tried to fill it in so I didn't look like I was sitting before. Good morning, Jennifer. And good morning, Denise. Thanks for tuning in. Feel free to ask any questions that you want. And remember, Marley Bird is our designer giveaway today. All right, let's go ahead and get started with our conversation. Today our conversation is going to be about gauge. And I know a lot of people say it's very important in knitting, but not as important in crochet. And I have, good morning, Trish. Thanks for stopping in. I have also stated myself, or confessed, I almost always do a gauge swatch for knitting, but I rarely ever do one for crochet, unless I'm doing a big project that I need exact measurements or whatever. I usually go and measure as I go. But gauge is really important. And I made this really big so you could see it. And this is from our talk the other day when we talked about yarn symbols. And this is one of the ones you'll find on your yarn symbol. You've got your crochet hook, and it tells you 6 single crochets for 12 rows will equal a 4x4. Good morning, Deborah. Good morning, Wanda. Thanks for tuning in. And so what I did is I made 3 gauge swatches with 3 different weights of yarn. And I did them all with the same amount of rows. See if you can see that. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 rows with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 stitches. So it's 10 rows and 10 stitches. And you can see this one is done with sport weight yarn, which is a 3. Then I did this one, same thing, 10 rows, 10 stitches, and I used an H hook for all of these. This one's quite a bit bigger, isn't it? And then the last one I did was with a chunky 5, and this one's even bigger. And there's a picture on the blog, and I'll put that blog link in the video so you can see exactly the exact measurements. And you can see that they all turned out different. So yarns make a difference in our gauge. The other thing that's real important in gauge is, of course, our crochet hooks. I've got 3 here. This is an I, this is an H, and this one's a J. And if you look at them, you can see they're a little bit different in size, but you think, does it really matter? But it really does. For instance, if I used an I hook, which is the H-I-J, let's go with J. If I used a J hook and I used it on the sport weight yarn, because, well, I dropped the hook, but that's okay. It would turn out bigger than if I used it on an H or maybe even a G, So that is extremely important. But first of all, let's talk about what is gauge. And gauge is basically a measurement. And it's, like I said, every pattern or every yarn will give you the recommended hook, this one's a K, for, and this of course is a big chunky, I think it's a 6 that I got this off of. It will give you the recommended size swatch to make. And if and it's a good idea if you've never worked with a yarn before to make yourself a swatch with the recommended hook. And as a designer, it is important because you may be making something that you want a big stitch, but you want it tighter. So that's where gauge is important. And let me tell you, I had it written down here. Here it is. Here's the exact definition of what a gauge is. Crochet gauge, not knitting gauge, but knitting is pretty much the same anyway, is the number of stitches across per inch and the number of rows down per inch when stitching a swatch to check for tension. Now, gauge and tension are similar, but they're not the same thing. And the reason that they're not is because your tension is how you crochet. I've been told I am a loose hooker. And I am. I crochet very loosely. But I knit tight, which is odd. But so everyone's going to knit at a different tension. And even your emotions can determine your tension. And also, if you're knitting and you're looking and you're going, oh no, I'm running out of yarn, you're going to knit faster and faster thinking that yarn's going to last longer, but it doesn't. I do it all the time. So if you're having an unusually emotional day and you're stressed, you might crochet tighter. But if you're having a nice relaxing day and you're by the beach or the pool and you're, on the water or whatever, you might just crochet loosely, So your emotions definitely play a part in how your tension is or how tight or loose you crochet. There's nothing wrong with being a loose crocheter or a loose hooker or a tight crocheter. It's just you have to learn. And another reason that's important is when you make your gauge swatch, you want to match the designer's size. So if you make the gauge swatch according to your tension, you'll know you need to add a stitch or subtract a stitch or something like that, or maybe go up or down hook sizes. That's why that's important. Okay. Now the other thing I wanted to talk to you about is why is it important to use the hook that the pattern designer is telling you to. And the reason is you want your item to be the same size, right? You don't want to end up with if you're making a shawl for your mother and it ends up, okay, I did the same amount of stitches, I used the exact same yarn. Now, using the right yarn is important too. But it's way too big and she's just a tiny little thing. Okay, so make sure you use the hook and the recommended hook and the recommended yarn when the designer calls for that. Because that's when you want it to be the size. But also, make sure you've got your tape measure handy. I am a big proponent of tape measures and measuring everything. When I first learned to crochet years and years ago, I didn't understand what gauge was. I read through it and I thought, oh, whatever. And I measured everything. When I make a dog hat, when I make a dog sweater, when I make a shawl for me, a scarf, or following somebody else's pattern, I always measure as I go. For instance, if you're making a hat and you're like, the top of this is huge, don't finish the whole hat. Measure it and measure it across. And if you're like, okay, this is not going to be 9 inches, it's going to be 29. You don't have to frog, rip out, rip out, rip out. The whole thing, you can just take out and start over before you get all the way through the project. That's why you'll always find me with a tape measure in my purse, a tape measure in my bags, a tape measure here, a tape measure there, everywhere. Always got a tape measure with me. And these are the best ones I've ever found. Hobby Lobby, 97 cents. Every time I go in there, whether I need one or not, I pick up one or two. Because I leave them everywhere. My car, everywhere. I've even got one in my gym bag. Okay, so just to kind of cap over what we've talked about, your yarn is going to give you a recommended crochet hook and tell you the recommended size to make your 4x4 swatch. And of course it always gives it centimeters too because yarns are sold all over the world. That's your recommended swatch. And then it's always good to use the recommended hook. Now, a lot of designers don't use the recommended hook for the yarn. But when you're doing a pattern, that's where the gauge swatch is important. Use the recommended hook, and if you see that you need to make adjustments before you get your project done, then you can make those adjustments without having to undo your whole project. Okay? And that's the thing. Although I did talk a little bit about your emotions, emotions play a big part with most creators, because most people who are creative are also emotional, because we let our emotions come out in our artwork. And for crocheters and knitters alike, our artwork is our knitting and crochet. Color matching and sizing, all of those things are all part of being creative. And I feel that's why I always call myself a yarn artist, because I feel like that that's what I do. I create things with yarn. Alrighty, so that's our talk on gauge. I will put the link. I have a blog written about that also, and I'll put that link in there just in case you missed out on some of the information. Alright, so what's going on this week with Posh Pooch Designs? We just have a couple of things. I took a little bit of break from doing some videos. I do have a YouTube channel, feel free. It's under Sara, Sach. Feel free. The link is also on my... oh, you're welcome, Deborah. The link is also on the Facebook page there, where you can... lipstick on my teeth. Where you can find my YouTube channel. And what we're trying to do with that is answer some questions on some of my free patterns on my blog and make a few tutorials. And I always try to post this video over there also, and just some fun stuff about my dogs. Just a fun channel with lots of fun videos and ways to help you be a better crocheter. And just, I don't have a lot of knowledge, but try to share a little that I do have. Okay, so what we are going to do this week is I had a question about how to add a trim to a towel or a blanket. And I'm going to, one of the videos I'm going to do this week is how to add the blanket stitch and then crochet on that blanket stitch. And this is one I did not that long ago. This has got, oh, here, you can see a little better if I open it up. It's just got a fun little trim on it. And this is one that we're going to do this week also. And then the other one is, this is called the Marigold Dog Collar. The neat thing about this pattern is you can make it for yourself and wear it for a fun little necklace. It is so cool to make. And it's real versatile. You can do 3 or 5 petals, however many petals you want. That's true, Jennifer. Everybody does crochet differently, and we talked about that earlier, and how your emotions can affect that. And gauge swatching is very important. Now, for something like this, where you're just doing this is where I probably wouldn't do one. I would just measure as I go. And here's, I made the same one in purple just so you can see it doesn't have to be made in. But we'll be doing a video on this probably Thursday or Friday on that. So, and then I have something planned for next week, and I hope that everyone's really going to like this. I have 3 Downton Abbey patterns that I designed, and I did first 2. I have Edith's butterfly scarf, and then Lady Edith's butterfly scarf, and then I did Lady Mary's triangle scarf. And then I have one for Lady Sybil also, and those should all be finished up, and hopefully I'm going to do a video series on those 3 patterns. I think that'd be a lot of fun because I do use the Downton Abbey yarn on those. So, and that's kind of what's coming up. Now, just a reminder, Marley Bird of Marley Bird Designs has offered 2 free patterns from her Ravelry shop to one person. So be sure and comment. All comments are in the running. And what we do is Thursday morning, you have between now and Thursday morning at 9:30 to comment, watch the video and comment. You can just post, I watched the video, and like Jennifer said, her comments on gauge, they're important. And I hope that you'll read through the comments too, because we can be helpful to each other. Because I am learning new stuff every single day. I have not arrived. I have much to learn. So, yes, and 9:30 Thursday morning, we'll randomly just pick somebody off out of the comments, and then I'll put the winner in these comments, and